Welcome to the show, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Super excited. Have a great guest today. Great American patriot, Special Forces veteran from West Virginia, running for Senate in that state. And but before I jump into that, I just wanted to talk about the news last night. Obviously, everybody knows about the strike in Venezuela, which led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro. It's something that a lot of conservative social media posters have been posting on X. We've been talking about it a lot. We talked about the stolen election that they had in their country. And so last night, January 3rd, U.S. Special Forces, including members of Delta Force, conducted a nighttime raid in Caracas, Venezuela, involving bombings, explosions in the capital, and President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were captured in their bedroom during the operation, set to face charges in the USA. And they had just met with the Chinese envoy about an hour before the raid, too. So President Trump addressed the raid today, which escalated from longstanding tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela, which have to do with drug cartels and obviously not a great relationship, which led to this. But President Trump had been warning him for a long time, and so we'll ask Tom about that today. But thank you for everybody joining in today. We already got 100 people in here watching today. Please like, comment, repost any questions that you have for Tom today, please post them in the chat, and we'll bring, if the decent questions, we'll bring them up here and talk about them. So without further ado, let's add Tom up here. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, Justin. I'm doing well. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in here. Yeah, it was kind of crazy news to wake up to this morning. I was actually jealous of the mission, to be honest with you. I wish I was out there, but
Me too. I get it.
Yeah, just pretty, it's kind of a stark contrast having President Trump. He means business. He when he gives a warning or something like that, you better take heed, because he's gonna, he'd been warning Bandero for a while now, and obviously we've been, striking the drug boats and stuff like that. So if they didn't see this coming, then I don't know what planet they're living on. So, but yeah, kind of crazy news, especially, and you are still a Green Beret. You are, what's your position now?
So I'm a lieutenant colonel now, Justin. I started off my military career on the enlisted side. I became infantry, and then a special forces engineer, sergeant, and then I went over to the officer side and started that career path. And so now I'm a lieutenant colonel in the West Virginia National Guard.
That's awesome. It's music to my ears, hearing about a veteran, somebody with a strong military background like yours, trying to, enter into the Senate, into Congress, things like that. It's really refreshing to me, because you have a unique perspective. You've sworn an oath in your life, and you live by, a creed, and we need to get back to that. Honestly, like, we need people with values. We need people that are going to do the right thing when nobody's looking, right? The Army's saying. And so it's refreshing to me to see veterans like you stepping up to the plate and taking a shot at this, because we need you guys out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Justin. And especially in West Virginia, our U.S. congressional delegation currently does not have any military veterans. And that's shocking, because West Virginia has one of the highest veteran populations in the country. But there's a real wisdom. I think you would agree with me on this. But just through the process of traveling around the world, working with foreign militaries, operating under our hierarchical chain of command, putting yourself on the line, there's all sorts of tidbits of wisdom that you pick up along the way with some military service, and it really helps you, I think, as a public servant. But the thing that I really like, and you were alluding to this, is one thing with a veteran is they're willing to sacrifice their lives for the benefit of their fellow Americans. And there's not a whole lot of folks, our first responders, I think, do the same thing without question, and that's why I love our first responders. But the military, certainly, you take that oath. And the good book says no greater love has a man than this, that he lay down his life for his brother. And when you take that oath, that's what you're signing up for, to potentially lay down your life for your fellow Americans. And so I love to see veterans, getting into public service. And let me say too, there's a lot of different ways to serve the public. I think that what you're doing and getting the truth out there, and this incredible platform you've created, it's every bit as much public service as me. I'm serving in the West Virginia State Senate now and running for U.S. Senate. But it takes a team, and we're constantly battling for the truth in the hearts of the nation. So it takes a team. So I'm happy to partner with you, and just really glad to be talking to your audience today.
Yeah. What led into your decision to I know you're in state Senate, but like, what made you, what really got you motivated to make the leap to the next level? Because it's a huge leap.
It's a big leap, but we of course pray about, my wife and I, we pray about anything before we make a major decision. So of course we did that, but we really didn't like what we were seeing in my opponent, who's incumbent Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito. For your audience that doesn't know her, she's essentially the Nancy Pelosi of the U.S. Senate. She's got a long rap sheet as a rhino, where she has been pro-abortion pretty much her whole career. She flip-flopped right before this election to face the electorate. She voted to keep funding for Planned Parenthood. She voted against traditional marriage. She voted for red flag gun confiscation. She skipped the vote to keep boys out of girls' sports, so that bill would fail. She's ranked, I think, number 2 in the Senate for insider trading. And CPAC, Freedom Works, and Heritage Action all have given her an F rating for conservative voting. As opposed to me, I've got a 100% conservative voter rating in the West Virginia State Senate. I've got the veteran background. I've got the business background. I'm a successful West Virginia business owner. And, I want to fight for families in West Virginia. I want to fight for the middle class. And I want to fight for, our conservative, limited government, free enterprise, personal accountability, the principles that made us a great nation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of West Virginia. I mean, it's a pretty base state, huge hunting background, 2A, a lot, gun rights supporters there, faith, very, just, it seems like, it's weird to me when we get these people, these rhinos, or these liberal people representing a state that really that doesn't reflect the values. That's not the West Virginia I know. In the mountains, trout fishing, and just coming across people, just really great people. And so your message seems to resonate a lot more with the people that I know from West Virginia, and so that that really fits. Talk about a little bit about your military career. So you're still serving in the National Guard. Do you, talk about some of the operations that you were on, some of the places you deployed to, that type of thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. I showed up in West Virginia in 2000 to talk to the National Guard recruiter for the Special Forces Battalion, and he's still a good friend of mine, Joe Willie, great guy. Since retired, but awesome dude. He said, "Tom, don't worry. The National Guard has only been mobilized twice in the last 65 years." And so that was 2000. And then, of course, 9/11 happened in 2001. And my wife, my first wife passed on from cancer, unfortunately. But my first wife and I, we'd literally just gotten back from our honeymoon. We got married. We just got back from our honeymoon. And the next morning, we'd been married a week, and I got a phone call. Hey, we're going to Afghanistan. Pack your bags. Let's go. And so my whole first year of marriage, I was out on deployment, and so I started off enlisted, like I mentioned, and went through infantry, then special forces. I was a engineer sergeant on a special forces A team for a couple of years, and then became an alpha. We've done deployments all over the world. I mean, short-term deployments to dozens and dozens of countries. One of the best was to Macedonia, where I was working with Croatian, Albanian, and Macedonian special forces. And the last night there, I met my current wife. I was a widower at the time and a single dad, and came home from that deployment with a souvenir in the form of my current wife, Sarah. So that was a successful JSET deployment, and ran special operations in some Middle East countries. We were targeting ISIS. So just really all over the world. Along the way, I picked up, learned how to speak 4 different languages. I've worked in 3 different embassies. Worked with a lot of 3 different 3-letter agencies, all kinds of missions that we can't really discuss, but it's been a great career, and I'm still in more in the administrative leadership headquarters type role now, but it's been a great ride, and I've really enjoyed the men and women that I've served with. I think you understand that too, that's just really the best part about being in uniform, is the colleagues that you get to serve with every day. And that the mission is just, serving your country. It's the best possible mission in the world.
Yeah, a badass American. Thank you for your service, sir. I appreciate it. It's hard for people to understand the bonds, the relationships you build, especially deployed, under duress, just like just, in really stressful situations, you make bonds with people that you can't make anywhere else, and they really become your brothers and sisters. And so it's funny, like when I went through my divorce, back when I retired or whatever, like the people coming out of the woodwork to support and stuff like that, people that I hadn't talked to in years, and just offering support, just the way we do, it's just that's the way the military is, and a lot of people don't understand that. And so I just
yeah, there's something, there's some kind of magic that happens when you go through shared suffering with someone, and I don't know what the magic sauce is, but it does bind your hearts together. One of my very best friends, we lost him on deployments, but he was my Ranger buddy in basic training. But he went in late in life. I went in late in life also. I didn't go to basic training until I was 28, and I kind of did it all backwards. I'd already been to law school and everything, and was working in DC as an attorney before I went to basic training. And he had played in the NFL. He got injured. He played for the Lions, and he got injured. And he was a teacher for a little bit, but he had too much warrior in him, so he ended up going to get a Ranger contract. And so he was 28. I was 28. We both, done a couple things in life, and we were, in basic training, kind of the older guys. And so not only did we have to go through basic training, but we were thrust into leadership roles, and we kind of had to coordinate our 55-man platoon. And just through that, all the shenanigans, and we became really, really close friends. And it was interesting because one of the drill sergeants said, you've got a Ranger contract, you've got a Green Beret contract. He's like, it's really hard. You'll never make it. And fast forward, 1 or 2 years, about a year and a half, he graduated distinguished honor graduate from Ranger School, and I graduated distinguished honor graduate from the Special Forces Q course. And so we swapped coins. I got his Ranger coin. He got my Green Beret coin. So it was pretty cool. But he passed on in 2014. We lost him. But we were so close. Our families became close, and I'm still really close with his family to this day. And ironically, his daughter actually married an NFL football player not too long ago. So, but there's something about that shared suffering that, definitely it bonds your hearts together.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, talk to me about the Senate, right? There's a lot of frustration from conservatives with just the way the Senate operates. Some of the things that, Congress too, they're both a little bit different. But the thing is like, there's a lot of frustration in there. It seems like, we vote for people and we put them in office or whatever, and then we just get the same old thing. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about, what you're going to try and do to change that, to get things moving, because we need people who are willing to, take the reins and make a change there, because there's a huge amount of frustration. Like, it's just, like the congressional hearings, I see these things or whatever, and I'm like, oh, well, another congressional hearing, that absolutely nothing's going to happen from that. You know what I mean? Like, it's reality though. We just see it over and over again. But, talk to us about the entity, what you can do to make a difference. I wish that we would build, like, the thing is like, Democrats bond together, right? And there's a lot, they're very powerful in the things that they do. It doesn't matter. Like, they don't cross each other. They toe the line with each other, regardless of whether they agree with it. And conservatives are kind of independent, right? We're critical thinkers. We're people have different values and stuff like that. And so that can be frustrating, because we're often the underdogs on a lot of the stuff we do. We need to build a coalition of strong conservative people to work together.
Yeah, it is frustrating. It's one of the reasons I'm motivated to run. My goal is to serve my country to the best of my ability. My identity is absolutely not wrapped up in any political title. I've got successful businesses and an amazing family, so I'm good. I don't need politics or a senator title to feel good about myself. But I also think it's cowardly if you see something that's not right and you don't do something about it. And we've got to pass this on to our kids and the next generation. So to answer your question, what is it about, the U.S. Senate and what good can you do? I think there's a couple of different answers to that. Let me just talk about one, which is, I'll talk about the nuts and bolts of the Senate in a second, but I think one that people overlook is and underestimate is just the platform, right? The platform that the U.S. Senate seat is. So, for instance, now I'm a state senator, but I wouldn't probably be coming on your podcast except for the fact that I'm a U.S. Senate candidate. So you have more avenues and opportunities to speak to the American people. And right now, our country is in a battle. We're in a battle for the hearts and the minds of America, and it's an ideological battle. Unfortunately, a lot of our younger generation, especially, is being sucked in by the alluring temptation of the deception of socialism, and they're ignorant to the fact that socialism has killed 100 million people in the last century, and it's failed in every country it's ever been tried. I mean, the monthly pension right now in socialist Cuba is $10 a month, and the estimate is that it takes $200 a month in groceries to survive. So do the math. Socialism just leads to political oppression, murder, poverty across the board. But unfortunately, a lot of Americans are getting sucked into it. And so, as a U.S. senator, you have a platform to speak to the hearts of the people, to educate them on what's happened in Venezuela, what's happened in Cuba, what's happened in China the last century, Russia last century, and so that's one thing. You've got a platform. The other thing is there's a chance for leadership. When I first came into politics, one of my friends told me, you would think that with all these delegates and senators that there's some really strong leaders and that's not something you're lacking. But the opposite is true, actually. Even in the hallowed halls of our government institutions, there is frequently a leadership vacuum. And if it's not a leadership vacuum, it may be a good leadership vacuum where you've got people leading based on principles and values, that hones to our Judeo-Christian moral values and the values of the Constitution. So you've got to get into those corridors and you've got to battle for influence and leadership, because if good people aren't doing it, you're going to have not good people doing it. And then the other thing that comes to mind when you ask about that, really, in my opinion, there's a lot of things that Congress needs to do, but the number one thing that they need to do is pass a budget. And the failure to pass a budget year after year, it costs our country hundreds of millions of dollars, because you have to restart all these contracts every time you get into a continuing resolution. Just the inefficiencies where you've got billions of dollars of man hours that are working to shut down the government, and then billions of dollars of man hours to open it back up. If Congress could just pass a budget. But the reason they don't do it, Justin, is because it takes guts, right? And you're going to have to make some tough decisions. You might get voted out of office because of some of the things that you have to do. And I think that a lot of people are holding on to their political position, like an idol. It's what defines them. It's what drives them. It defines their life. It's certainly not the case with me. And we need more people that are there for the right reason, that are willing to lose their job to do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we saw that frustration in Elon Musk too. He put his life on hold and he went and, worked on Doge, built a fantastic team of young innovators and tech gurus. And they really, they discovered a lot. Right. And to watch that just kind of be let go to waste. I mean, they passed the same budget again, the continuing resolution that refunded all the things that they just said needed to be cut, that most people would agree that need to be cut. And it just like, I don't know what happens behind the scenes. I don't know if they, technically cut away some of those funding lines or what happens. But, Elon was extremely frustrated with President Trump. Now, granted that he lashed out in ways that I wish he wouldn't have done. But the thing is like, I understand his frustration. They just did all this work and then we're just going to refund it. What the hell is going on? So, and I just want to point out, we got 2,300 live listeners too. So we got pretty good showing for you today, sir. So, yeah. So it's just really, it's really frustrating to watch. It's really frustrating to see people, trying to do the right thing, and then it's just the same old thing happening over and over again. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about one of the things I love about Elon and Trump too, to be fair, is you can objectively look at what's their motivation, right? And so Trump obviously is a billionaire. He's coming in. He's not paying himself a salary. He doesn't need a political career to cap off his success, right? And then you look at Elon. I mean, what's the opportunity cost for how much time and energy Elon spent on Doge? I mean, the rate at which this guy can create these incredible companies and make them worth hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars, it's incredible. He took all that time and energy and gave it to the American people. With him, him and his Doge team. So, look, I'm really grateful to both of these gentlemen for stepping in and doing the right thing. I'm trying to do it, same thing on myself, much smaller scale, much smaller scale. But it's a financial sacrifice for me and my family to serve in the government. And I think that those are the type of people that you want to look for, not people that have never had a real job, not people that, that have never had to, really have a serious responsibility in life, but folks that it's really clear that they can succeed in other areas of life, but they're here for the right reasons, and it's to serve the American people and make our country better and pass it on to our kids.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, some politicians come to mind. I won't say them because this is your show, but
feel free.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders is the first one that came to my mind, but yeah, you're right. And, that's the way the founders meant it to be. This isn't meant to be a career. This is meant to be, people that have input from their lives. They're living it. And you're absolutely right. It's just, that's the right reason to serve. And so, well, I mean, thinking about what your challenges are, what do you see your path to victory? Like how are things going for you in West Virginia? What have you been, seeing? Talk to me about people that you've been talking to on the campaign trail. How's that going for you?
Yeah, it's going really well, Justin. We've got a clear path to victory. We're at a severe fundraising disadvantage, and so we always welcome financial supporters and partners. But we're funded, our core staff and our core functions are funded all the way through the primary. I put in a good chunk of capital from my own personal funds to show folks that I'm committed personally to winning. What we're up against an incumbent rhino that she's been in office for 25, 30 years. Her dad was governor of the state, and that's how she, had a silver spoon in her mouth, politically speaking. And so she has great name recognition, which is not good for me, but she also has very high negatives, which is good for me. And so there was a national poll run right at the beginning of our race, and I was already polling within the margin of error against her. She had a couple of green energy PACs come in and spend millions of dollars to try to boost her rating, and we haven't run a poll. We were waiting for the new year. We haven't run one recently, but it's a very winnable race for us. It's going to come down to the ground game. I defeated our lieutenant governor in my last race, and we were the underdog in that race. Everybody counted me out and poo-pooed the idea that we could pull it off, and I won that race by 12 points. And I would have won it by more, but there was another conservative in the race who siphoned off some percentage of my votes as well. So it's a very winnable race. It's going to be hard work. I'm going to have to knock on a lot of doors, do a lot of town halls, and just hit boots on the ground. But wherever we go in the state, the reception is very warm. It's very positive, and folks are letting me know that they're with me in this.
Yeah. And I'm glad, it makes me happy to see you guys willing to come on to podcasts, willing to come get out here. Granted, there's a news piece and stuff like that. And, that awesome for you. I saw you were on Newsmax and a few other things. Right. But the thing is like coming out here too, like there's a lot of power. You get a lot of reach coming onto these social media platforms, and Democrats are killing it on social media. What? Why? Because they pay these influencers and stuff like that, and conservatives don't do it. We're doing this for us. This is a labor of love. I'm not getting paid to do this, so I'm platforming you guys because I want to win and I want to save our country. I have 2 teenagers, right? So I want them to be able to afford a house. I want them to, not be paying for, Somalian daycare fraud scams. Like I want them to be able to, live the way that we did and buy a house and all that type of stuff. So I'm just, it makes me happy for you guys that are willing to put yourself out here and take a leap of faith and kind of check out the social media arena, because you have to. That's the way you're going to reach the young people. And another thing that I tell candidates too is don't be afraid to go to TikTok. I know a lot of conservatives do not like TikTok. They do not want to get on that platform, but I'm telling you, that's how you're going to reach the kids, because they are not going to put their phones down. That's where a lot of them are at. And if you want to reach them, that's where you got to hit them. So, don't be afraid to do that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. My oldest daughter is 20. And so I definitely know that to be true. And she tries to keep me grounded in the realities of modern tech and the younger generation. So she's been a great asset for me.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, my oldest he's 19, he's about to be 20, but and my youngest he turns 18 next week. So I know exactly. And I just, again, these are voters, right? They're voters. Mine are both registered to vote. So this is where you got to reach them, and I always tell candidates that. And so I see your X page. I followed you on there. So for those that are watching here, his handle is tagged in the post. Please follow him, check out what he's got to say, because I think he's going to resonate with a lot of you guys. And he's the exact type of candidate that we need to promote and help him out.
I appreciate that, Justin.
Yeah. So, well, talk to us about the Venezuela strike. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just telling my wife, Sarah, I said, the news cycle has been pretty slow over the New Year's. I logged into some of the news apps on New Year's Day, and frankly, I was thankful that there were no terrorist attacks on U.S. soil or anything like that. And I thought, well, it seemed like they were struggling for things to cover. And sure enough, here we go today. Quite a news story. So look, I think Maduro had this coming a long time coming. And frankly, I would have loved to have seen this happen to his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, who was a much bigger, big mouth and blowhard and antagonist towards the United States than even Maduro was. But one of my deployments, Justin, was down to U.S. Southern Command, which is in Doral, Florida, which is ironic because it's called Little Venezuela, Doral, Florida. It's right next to Miami. It's part of Miami, really, right next to Miami, Florida, and that's where all the Venezuelan expats sort of aggregated after they were fleeing the Chavez regime and then the Maduro regime. In Venezuela, because they just crushed that country. That country used to have the highest per capita GDP in all of South America. Just beautiful beaches, beautiful nature. I mean, it was the number one. It was the pearl of South America until socialism took over. And we were talking about socialism earlier in the show. I mean, it's just socialism is just such a pernicious cancer as a form of government, and it just destroyed the country. Predictably, Chavez, Maduro, they put all of their political opponents in jail, just like every socialist government always does. You end up a few years later, the first 2 or 3 years, everything's great because you're stealing money from people and you're giving it to other people. The people that complain about it, you just put them in jail. The people that receive it, there's a lot more of them. They're all happy. So the first, 1, 2, 3 years, it looks like, oh my goodness, what a great system. But then once there's nothing left to steal, then people end up eating their dogs for food, which literally was happening in Venezuela. There's a news article about it. And the average Venezuelan citizen was losing 15 pounds a year not because they were on a great diet program, but because they were starving under socialism. And so then you had Venezuelans going to all across South America. I did a deployment in the embassy in Peru. We've got friends in Lima, and they're telling us about gang violence. These Venezuelan gangs are coming in because everybody's just fleeing the country. I mean, socialism just destroys countries. But Maduro, when I was down at Southcom, Maduro, Chavez, we would look at charts of where the drugs are coming from into the southern border. And, there's some coming up the Pacific coast of Central America, and there's some coming up the Gulf Coast of Central America. There's a huge, huge flow from Venezuela. And this is not something that's been happening in the last, 2-3 years. We're talking decades, decades that they've been doing this. And the Trump administration put Maduro on notice. And Maduro was a bully, and he was bluffing, and Trump called his bluff. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But the thing that frustrated me when I was down at Southcom, you may have seen some of this when you were in the military. So some of the policies that come down, and this is one of the reasons why I'm interested, to run for U.S. Senate. But some of the policies that would come down from D.C. We had a policy directive from the national. It's the Office of National Drug Control Policy, and our directive at U.S. Southern Command at that point was to interdict 40% of drugs coming into the United States. And I remember they would post that mission. All right, our mission, everybody, 40% interdiction of all drugs coming to the southern border. And I just remember thinking, that's insane. So you're saying that 60% will get in. And I'm thinking, well, by stopping or seizing 40%, all we're doing is driving up the price on the remaining 60%, and we're making the drug dealers even richer. I mean, like, the military is great because they'll carry out their mission and do it professionally. But if the policy coming down isn't coming from wise policymakers, then the mission may be foolish. The beauty of Trump and the Trump administration and what just happened in Venezuela is, Trump's the type of person that says, look, 40%, that's absurd. Why don't we try for 0%, right? Like, that's what the goal should be. Let's go for 0%. Okay, how do we make that happen? Well, there's a huge channel of ships and airplanes coming from Venezuela. I remember the red lines on the map. I mean, there were so many. It was like a red highlight, coming straight to our southern border from Venezuela. Trump, to his credit, says, why don't we just stop that? Let's just start there and stop that. And to his credit, it was a great thing to see. I'm a proponent of the Monroe Doctrine. I like to see U.S. Influence, everything that's going on in the Western Hemisphere. And we put organizations like Hezbollah, who had a presence in Venezuela. Hamas has a presence in Venezuela. These terrorist organizations. You've got narco-terrorist organizations. You've got Maduro at the top of the pyramid running the whole scheme. You've got China. You've got Russia. You've got Cuba. All these entities that are hostile to the United States and poisoning our people. And listen, in West Virginia, we've lost a lot of people to drug overdoses. So I've got no sympathy for them. And I applaud the bold action to take this indicted narco terrorist out of play. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens next. I'm sure you saw the presser. President Trump was talking about taking some control over what happens next in Venezuela, and it was a little bit nebulous what that means exactly. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Next steps.
Yeah, often you hear about the stats with the border crossers and stuff like that, and Trump shutting down the border. Like, the flow, has been cut off essentially. But the thing is, I'm also curious about the drug, like what it has done to the drug mission. How it's, obviously if it's stemming, illegals coming across the border or whatever, obviously it's going to put a dent in the drugs coming across the border too. I'm wondering what the numbers are, if they even have, an accurate, assessment of what's been going on, or the dent that we've been putting in, the cartel's pocket, basically. I'm really curious to hear about that. And hopefully, something comes out of this to the Venezuela strike. Maybe we'll hear some more information about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not privy to that intelligence. If I was still down at Southcom, I'm sure I would see the briefing every day. But between stopping the shipping and now there's a huge amount of air traffic also. Don't forget about that. I mean, they even have submarines, that are running drugs. But you combine that with shutting off the pipeline from Venezuela, plus the securing the southern border, and stopping the influx of illegal immigrants. I mean, I don't know what the number is, honestly, Justin, but it's got to be tremendous. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be statistically very significant.
Yeah.
So you've piqued my curiosity. I would love to try to
Yeah.
find out what it is
I'm,
now.
yeah, I'm curious too, because I actually, my first enlistment was in the U.S. Coast Guard, and then after 9/11 is when I joined the Army to get in the fight. But so I worked the border a little bit, and I worked some of those things. I'm just curious, what it's done to the flow of drugs coming in this country, because that's something that I really care about. Like, I don't care about some of these things that are happening in the Middle East as much as I do that, that could potentially affect our kids. And, I know a lot of people on X, that their kids, died of drug overdose, or, whatever the case may be. This hits home harder than some of those other things, not to say that we should be complete isolationists, but the thing is like, these things I care about a lot more than things that are happening in countries that I don't even know where they are on a map. So
Yeah. And it is possible to have a substantially drug-free society. I mean, there are countries that have accomplished this, and it's a matter of political will. So you take a country like Singapore, they have a very limited drug problem. And the reason is because the penalties for dealing drugs are very severe. And so it is possible. And frankly, I would like to see the penalties more severe. We did that in the legislature in West Virginia last year. We significantly increased the penalties for dealing in fentanyl, because we had talked to some of the police in West Virginia, and they were really frustrated because some of the penalties were a misdemeanor, and sometimes they were telling us, based on what they had and what the law was, it wasn't even worth making an arrest, because it was just a waste of time. And so we worked to fix that in West Virginia and increase the penalty for fentanyl dealers. Going back to national policy, we're making great strides in, I think, stopping the cocaine coming in from Venezuela and some of these other countries in the southern border. I would really like to see the same thing happen with fentanyl. And, China said they're going to cooperate with us to stop the precursors coming over to Mexico and then coming across the border. But I think we've got to really take a tough line with Mexico, with China, and make sure that the flow of fentanyl stops. And if it doesn't, frankly, I would say let's reverse it right back to China and see how they like it, which, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that's how they operate. And no, unless there's a risk to them and they have an incentive to stop, they're not going to stop. And so we have to create the proper incentive and structure for them to do the right thing and stop the flow of fentanyl into our country as well.
yeah, absolutely. And the Venezuela strike too was kind of a shot across China's bow too, because like I said, Maduro had just met with the Chinese envoy there, and then we're raiding his house and taking him in immediately after. So
Yeah.
obviously they're not happy about that, but I don't care. So so that's what happens when you wield the biggest stick, and you are playing games with a country that doesn't play games anymore with President Trump. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think China and Russia both were looking at Venezuela as a beachhead of influence and power in the Western Hemisphere, and to his credit, President Trump shut that down. I think one of our immediate actions should be to completely eliminate terrorist organizations that we know are in the country, like Hamas and Hezbollah, and just eliminate their footprint altogether in the Western Hemisphere. They're in a couple other countries in South America, but one of their biggest footprints is in Venezuela. And I think we need to eliminate the safe haven for them, because they certainly don't intend anything but death and destruction to the United States.
yeah, and governors can do a lot to help that too. was it DeSantis that just designated the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. Thank God for him and Sarah Huckabee, trying to keep China out of her state and stuff like that. The things that they're doing really kind of shows the power that the governors have. And I'm thankful for governors like them. I wish we had, Governor DeSantis in Georgia, but hopefully we get a good governor here in the next election. Brian Kemp is termed out. So, but yeah, so anything else you would like to, the floor is yours, sir. Anything else you'd like to say to your future constituents, people that vote for you, or, people that maybe haven't heard from you before? The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on the show, Justin. It's an honor to talk to you and to talk to your audience. We talked about it earlier. I'm running for U.S. Senate because I want to serve my country as I wind down 25 years plus of U.S. military service. I'm transitioning to service as a statesman, still serving my fellow West Virginians and hopefully the entire nation as the next U.S. Senator for West Virginia. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. You can expect from me protecting our Judeo-Christian values, protecting our gun rights, protecting our religious freedoms, protecting our families, advocating for the middle class, advocating for limited government, limited regulations, taxes as low as possible, and free enterprise and personal accountability. And my opponent is just on the wrong side of all the column on all of these issues. Just about, she's tried to go for a unconstitutional red flag gun grab, and she's been pro-abortion. She's voted to keep funding for Planned Parenthood. She skipped the vote to keep boys out of girls' sports, so that bill would fail. And she's got an F rating for conservative voting from some of the premier voting rating agencies in D.C. She's ranked number 2 in the Senate for insider trading, and she truly is the Nancy Pelosi of the U.S. Senate. So I think the people of West Virginia realize that it's time for a change. She's been in politics for too long. Her family has this whole oligarchy type thing going on in West Virginia, and West Virginians are ready for a change. It's time for a change, and I'm presenting them with a credible, true conservative as an alternative that they can vote for in the primary in May of 2026. So I'm asking for everyone's support. Please partner with me. You can go to tomwillis.com is my website, and you can partner either by volunteering, helping us out on social media, like our stuff, fight for us. We've got all kinds of trolls, as you can imagine, so fight for us. Or you can go to tomwillis.com and donate financially. But and the main thing is for my fellow West Virginians, please vote for me on May 12th in 2026 in the Republican primary.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and I posted your X handle down there too. Please follow at Tom Willis WV on X. Help him get his word out there. Repost his stuff, get his name out there or whatever, because I have friends in the Rhino Removal Project that would be very interested in hearing about your opponent, and if she isn't already on the radar. You sound like the guy that we need in there, honestly. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out here on a Saturday. I don't typically do my show on Saturday, but last night was my birthday, so I took last night and tonight off. So I was free to do it, and I was like, heck yeah, let's get him up here. Let's hear what this Green Beret has to say. And I appreciate veterans getting in the fight and going out for these seats, because we need you in there, man. We need people that have values and that are going to do the right thing. So appreciate you spending your Saturday with us, and thank you for taking the time to come talk to us.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure, and happy birthday, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, old man. Got a couple more gray hairs this year, but I'm still hanging in there. So
yeah, that's called wisdom.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Well, there you have it. Tom Willis for West Virginia. Awesome Senate candidate. Obviously a great American patriot, the type of person that we need in the Senate. I've been extremely frustrated with that body. And, we need people like him. We need people like Don Brown. We need people, good American patriots to get into that, that body and take care of business, because it's been, just the swamp. Like, Congress is the swamp, like the high school level. Well, the Senate is a swamp at the college level. And so we need to replace some of these rhinos. We need to get some of these people out of office. We need to get good people in there, some new blood, some fresh conservative ideas, and people that are willing to do the right thing, when we need them to. And so that's why I like to promote these people. So you guys saw him, Tom Willis, fantastic speaker and great American patriot. So please follow him on his platforms. Check out his website. Donate if you're able to. Tell your friends from West Virginia. We need somebody like him in office. So appreciate everybody hanging out with me today. And thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the reposts and everything. We're just under 3,000 live listeners today, which under an hour show, that's pretty dang good. So I'll post some clips from this show to the other social media platforms. But thank you for coming today, and we'll see you next time.